Hey everybody, Ben here from DMC Films and Cinderglock Studios. And this week I decided to do a studio tour. Now, I think I've done maybe one or two of these over the years, but the studio is always kind of changing a little bit and everything like that, so decided it's about time to do another one of these. Now, anytime I'm doing the start of a video or an intro or whatever, this is what you guys see, to the two bookshelves and my work surface. However, this is, not exactly everything that's in the studio. I have a decent amount of space down here, so I have the ability to, be open and have a little more space. Now, when I'm working on a video, this is what I see. I'm looking at the other side of the room. There's usually the camera sitting on the tripod over there. And, yeah, so I'm kind of just looking out, staring at the camera, and everything like that. There's that mural on the far side of the wall, where I do all the video outros. Still not done, but it's definitely getting much closer than it's been in, I don't know, the recent couple of bits of time. My work surface is a couple of doors on top of a pool table. So it's definitely a makeshift work surface. So it's certainly not, perfect in any way. So we have an old, relatively small pool table and a couple of these wooden doors on top to give myself a nice flat area. And then I use sort of a something of a splash mat, and this is just a couple of big pieces of cardboard that I've gotten just various shipments in over time, mostly art store things, big paper, that kind of thing. On the far side of the table, I have some jars and things like that. We have some matte gel, which is thicker and older, and I actually have it thinned out and clarified a bit in this smaller container. We have some diluted acrylic flow release and some extra little jars. In the back, I've got my watercolors are in little pots and things like that, so I'm able to, whether or not they were ever officially in tubes like this one, I'm able to sort of get them back to the consistency of what they would be in a tube of watercolor. And I use a variety of different watercolors, professional, student grade. And there's some really old Crayola ones here that I still use for a lot of projects, actually. So I'm not really picky on that section. I've got some drawing feathers up here towards the back as well. Those are always pretty neat. Oh, and my camera has a little remote for it, so that's always hanging out somewhere there, apparently. I have a small 12-inch old computer monitor, which runs with a VGA cable. It's down on the floor right now, but I'll take it over to my laptop here on the side and plug it in so I can have the additional screen as I'm working, which is super helpful, especially when I'm doing a larger painting. So we've got, on the right-hand side is closer to my painting stuff, so I keep my brushes over here in big, these are tea containers from, like, I don't know, Crystal Light or something. And some of the bigger brushes I just kind of hang out on the side. I just knocked something over, I don't know what it was. Plastic, that's good. This is a giant art gum eraser, and I keep some razor blades here, and those are for scraping palettes, like this one that has dried paint on it. This is my main water basin. You've probably seen it in a lot of my videos. I also have the spare one here, and this is just sort of a reservoir for other water as I have it and need it. These things don't belong here. I have to put them back in a bit. And that's sort of my main work surface. There's a lot of things that, usually aren't being put away, which is, yay for me. A couple weeks ago, the Ben Min Book Improvements stuff from Didi. This is how I cut out a thing from one of my business cards, and with the logo. So I put that on the front so I know it's the front. So that's another improvement there. So now we can actually move over away from the table. Excuse me. To the side, and this is sort of my painting and artwork storage. So we come down the steps here on the left, And I have done a lot of paintings over the years. I've got, this is all my camera equipment in the case, and then there's a wonderful, this whole thing is full of stuff. I've got some stuff stacked on top. I've got another bin here. There's another bin in the back, in the corner there. So there are 3 big bins, along with some things stacked up in the corner. I did a video on unstretching a canvas, and these are all old paintings as well, but they're not stretched. They're just kind of rolled up in scrolls here on the side. And these are just other things that don't really fit anywhere else. I also have some space up on the wall for some displayed things. I got my color charts, which are really great for reference just from a distance. A couple of paintings there. Let's see what else we got. I got some of this paper from a job I worked for about a month. And it's heavy, nice. This is like a high gloss. It's printer paper. Not sure what I'm going to do with all of it, but it's kind of nice to have. So here we have a really important part of the studio, and this is sort of my idea board and everything like that. I've got everything on here from test projects to things I'm not using to things I might use, video ideas, pretty much everything that you could even think of. So it's, I finish something, I do something, I'm like, oh, but this is a long-term idea or project, I'm going to go ahead and stick it on the board. And anytime I'm in need of maybe a new inspiration or an old inspiration, I'll come back and look at the board and have a look at some things. So it's sort of a nice little thing to have, and I highly recommend it if you don't have some sort of a board to display some of your ideas. I definitely recommend trying to get and pick one up. So there's always a spot for as well here for another painting. So we have I think this is called Cold Forest or Cold Mist or something like that. Old paintings. One of my first tutorials on the channel was that piece. Okay, now we move on to the what I call the dry media shelf. And around the dry media shelf I've got some loose canvas and some other canvases. There's a long skinny one in the corner there that I've got for an upcoming project. As much as it's dry media, I still have some wet things here. First we got my tripod, easel rather, and that's kind of folded up in the corner real nice. It's got a nice sort of spot there. Next shelf up we've got sort of my prep canvas tools. So I have a nice big bucket of gesso and a gesso brush. We have a putty knife, which I use to open the bucket. Now this is pretty neat, since it belonged to my great-grandfather, so I have sort of like a family history heirloom, so to speak, hanging out here in the studio. So I got some black gesso, and this is an older gesso brush. A lot of other various things down here. Some stack of tape for various projects, some compressed air, both for computer use and for art use. Now we move into the tools. I've got pins for the bulletin board. These are wood carving knives, but I use them for a variety of other things. We've got an ink brayer, a wood burner in the back, some box cutters, staple gun, and this thing, which probably doesn't look like much to especially the younger audience here, but this is a hand drill. It's a simple tool. I use this all the time for various projects, but essentially it's you take here and you push down, holding both the top and the bottom, and it drills holes, and it's super effective. I don't think they sell new ones anymore. You pretty much have to find them at garage sales and yard sales, but yeah, if you can ever find one, pick one up, seriously. So next up we've got the actual books of the bookshelf. So we have all my old sketchbooks, which, not as many as some artists, but I haven't been doing this quite as long, at least sketchbook-wise. Some bottles and things holding things up. We have my Micron and Prismacolor pens, just because they don't fit anywhere else. Over here we've got Mark Curley's Brody's Ghost, the entire 6-book series. So he finished that up That book 6 came out early this year, and that was the last in the series. Great series, definitely worth picking up. I've starting to do some art books and things now. These are some older ones. These are watercolor project and technique books from a set from when I was younger. General drawing book. Some art of books, which are really good. My art store catalog. And there's just some like art history type books and things like that. So really, really cool stuff. Definitely like sort of like extra inspiration when I'm flipping things through. Alright, next up. So we've got some colored pencils, India inks, acrylic inks, graphite pencils and charcoal, other colored pencils, extra ink pens, general tools. There's a protractor and a circle maker, some blending stumps. On the corner we move into both chalk and oil pastels, so they're sort of important as well as some Conte crayons up here. And anything up above this is just sort of general storage. I have some old sculptures here. This is the Drawing Demon. Gave him a little pencil. He hangs out up here. This is all stuff I did in college, actually. Some modeling clay, faces and heads. These are really fun. I really want to try and do some more of these eventually, but they're really little fun little things to make. So on the back shelf, whoa, I'm hitting things. Back shelf or back area, I guess. I have some other general storage. This is a brand new sketchbook that'll be probably sketchbook 17. I'm on 16 now, so it's just a spare one for when I fill the other one. This is a box full of computer cables. I just have really whatever I need to store back here, and a lot of current projects are often thrown over here while I can fit them. It's a bit of a mess right now. I've got a bunch of smaller artwork and things I'm going to be selling in a couple of weeks, hopefully. So I've got prints and things like that coming in, so those are all hanging out and sitting here. There's the brick from the intro that I filmed early in the year. One other thing about me is that I like interesting glass jars, so I make it a point to sort of find them and collect interesting looking glass jars. And so I have a bunch of different ones. So it's sort of things that start accumulating in the studio. So whenever this section isn't cluttered up by current projects, it's usually sort of like the drawing side of the studio. I paint over on the main table, but if I'm doing like a time-lapse drawing of like a video game character or something, this is usually where I'm doing it. I've got a box over here which I use as my main pencil box, and the front side I've got things like charcoal pencils, white charcoal, colored pencils. The other side's usually it's supposed to be between the erasers, but this is sort of goes from blendable media to just my regular light and dark graphite pencils. So there's some 4H's and then some like 6B's, and then the Prismacolor ebony pencils. I love these. And then in the far side, I usually have more specialty things, extra ink pens I'll occasionally put in here, and I have my little X-Acto knife, which is super, super useful. You probably see a lot in the painting process videos if you watch them. There's all my spray cans. So I've got acrylic spray, I've got fixatives, final sealer coats. I've got more specialty things I've used for specific projects, like a white and a black, and there's a silver for something. I don't remember what I had the silver for. Some spray glue. Just whatever I've needed for various projects. And things like that. Pencil sharpener, wherever it fits. And then things are always kind of leaning up. I got my stool in the middle of the floor and extra canvases for upcoming projects. It's just really about where it fits. So moving on to sort of the other side of the room here. Just have some general storage. Most of the top shelves is bar-related things. I've got glassware for drinks, because the bar is over here on the left. If you have watched the cocktail show at all. But this is sort of the main section of painting and everything else like that. So I have sort of my acrylic colors lined up roughly in rainbow order, but I have sort of like my main. I have reds. I have a thing of yellow on the table. So I have reds, greens, a couple of blues, and then in the corner are my specialty colors. This is sort of what is this called? Green gold? Funky color. Quinacridone magenta, zinc white. Behind the colors I have sort of bottled type things, so I have some glazing liquid, more diluted flow release, diluted Oxgall, which is essentially the acrylic flow release, only for watercolors. Picked some of that up recently. It's pretty interesting stuff. Masking fluid, some really old linseed oil, which I don't touch. And then there's this box in the corner full of things that I really don't touch. I have some water mixable oils that I had for a class at some point a couple years ago, and I still have them. I will use these for certain things on occasion, but not much. And then I actually do have oil paints that don't move. They just sit here because I don't use them. I think if I do use them at all, it'll be for like a knife painting eventually. But again, I don't touch them. I don't like oils. With the exception of this one color, it's called Asphaltum. If you watched my interview with James Gentner over on the channel, or rather here on the channel, he talks about that stuff, and that's why I have it. He's going to teach me how to do something with it later, so it's there for that. Below that, I've got, mostly it's the palettes on this shelf, so huge stack of glass palettes, various sizes, usually big and small, but yeah. This side of the world, it's a lot of, again, it's additional storage. I've got some eye hooks for hanging, sandpaper, and things like that. This is sort of where I keep things for shows and things like that. Well, sandpaper technically belongs on the other shelf, but it goes here because it fits here. The lower shelf is anything and everything that doesn't fit anywhere else. So I've got bubble wrap for shipping. I've got some old air dry clay. There's wire down here, boxes, pallets, just like whatever, shove it in the bottom. And that's sort of just what that shelf looks like on a regular basis. So I did mention about my colors before, and I didn't really mention this back up here, is I have the watercolors in the back, but then I also have my sort of acrylic stuff in the front. And so with this, I have my, what I call used paint, which is basically recycled paint. I scrape off the palette and put it in a single container, and it makes this nasty gray color. But it's great to use as a base for stuff later. So this is a mix of pretty much every color. These ones are specifically whites and pale whites. Used mediums that have been colored. And this is used paint, no white. So this one tends to vary in color, but it doesn't get to be that nasty gray because there's no white in it. So we've got some gloss gel and matte gel, which is a thinned out version of this thicker stuff. Heavy gel matte, some coarse pumice gel, fine pumice gel, light molding paste, regular molding paste, yellow. These are just into the regular paint colors now. We have got yellow, yellow ochre, some black, and some white. So that's pretty much it. I have a couple extra jars, smaller containers. If I'm doing detail work, I'll put water in this and use one of my thin liner brushes. My liner brushes also I keep over here too. Since if I put them in with my regular brushes, they'll get lost, and I won't be able to find them in most cases. So that's where those are. Then I have my instant brush cleaner, flow release and soap. I've got a quick tip on that on the channel as well. And one thing I forgot to mention is that I had a bunch of stuff in my hand. One thing on the drawing shelf here, I also have my rulers, which were out at the time. And I have another container up here for assorted tools. The Sharpies go in here when they're not elsewhere. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a lot of stuff. This video's been going quite a while now. I think it's about 20 minutes, which is longer than I thought this was going to be. But yeah, that's what the studio really does look like. There's a lot of individual things, and things are organized, but at the same time, I do know where everything is, and it's chaotic and it's crazy, but there is some level of organization. So this is, I mean, you might think, oh, you've got a lot of stuff. I've accumulated a lot of stuff. You know, I go to the art store, I'm like, oh, I don't have one of these yet, so I'm gonna buy one. And so, you know, I've between stuff that I've had for 10 years, 15 years versus stuff that I've had for, 2 months. You know, it's all here. It's all here together, and so it's fun. I like the space that I've got, as long as I still have it, but probably won't be that much longer, really. But so this is really the core of Cinderblock Studios. This is my workspace. This is what I have to use, and yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little studio tour, and look forward to more videos in the future. So this has been from DMC Films and Cinderblock Studios. Subscribe for more, and see you guys next time.